Um, we're going to say it once,
Okay.
and then that's it.
Okay.
So you can
people
say
are
it
eating it too.
very slowly and very deliberately.
Okay. My show is called Eat a Queer Fetus for Jesus.
And why is that?
There's several reasons for. I mean, I've always had this thing about in 2007 I did my first 1 hour Edinburgh show, and the show ended up being about racism, sexism, and homophobia, sort of by accidentally.
Yeah.
And so I called it the honky-hating heterophobic man whore. And the poster was me doing a Black Power salute with a bra on my head and a gay pride flag in between. And I did no flyering, and the show was packed because people were going, I just saw the title and thought, I have to come and see that show. I have to. And so this sort of started off a spiral of me trying to find a show title that went for it. In 2009, the show was called A Walking Advert for Abortion, and the poster was my head superimposed on an actual baby scan of an actual baby with a cigarette and cowboy boots. And again, I did no flyering, and people were like, I saw the title, I had to come to this show. And the thing about this show is that it kind of goes into a different realm, this one, because this one's a bit... The reason for this show title is it's a bit darker in places, but the show is essentially, there's two parts to the show. It is just straight stand-up. It's not straight stand-up, but it's just it's a man on stage talking. Let's put it there. But there's really the two parts to it. There's the first part, which is really about, it's sort of looking at things. It's just general commentary on things like politics, religion, and things in the world. But looking at it from like the worst possible elements that we're seeing in society at the moment, particularly involving things like racism and religion and politics, things like the English Defence League, the UK Independence Party, the BNP, going over looking at things in Europe and America, just a little bit of news stories and that. But then in the second part, I use specific people who I've developed. I've had a good relationship with over the last few years. People like Tommy Robinson from the EDL, who we're not mates, I would say, but we're and other people. And then in the second show, I look at sort of like these people are, in my opinion, nutters, and they have mental beliefs. But then I sort of look at, could I not possibly turn into this sort of person one day? Because it just sort of seems there's like this. We all know these people in our lives who were quite reasonable, nice, decent people, and it's like one day you meet them maybe a couple of years later, and it's like they've just woken up in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to be a nutter now for the rest of my life. I'm just going to hate everybody. Yeah. And then in the second part of the show, I sort of talk about I go into a very true story and a graphic account of back in 2006 when my girlfriend at the time had an abortion, and it's a quite sort of that's when it goes from sort of like just being sort of a bit un-PC and a little bit controversial to when it gets a bit darker than that. Yeah. But I mean, it was something that it happened many years ago, but it was just something that I felt I have to write a stand-up routine about, because it was it was a very, very painful story. But I mean, I've got Richard Pryor on my t-shirt today. I mean, I was always influenced by stand-ups who did stuff that was just who did just do jokes about unpleasant subjects, like in general, just things like diseases or the Holocaust or whatever, but they actually took stuff from their own life, which is not funny. So, I mean, my favourite Richard Pryor routine is when he's talking about it being in the Burns unit after he's tried to kill himself because of a crack addiction, which just doesn't sound funny in the slightest. But you're just there, horrifically laughing your arse off. And the same with Billy Connolly. He just used to do jokes about his dad beating him. And you're laughing at this stuff. And I thought, if I can't make this into a stand-up routine, I'm just never gonna. I've got to do it for this purpose of trying to see if I can do that.
Is it a form of therapy for you?
I think it is in a way. I mean, I've always said that it's difficult because I mean my show's quite. If you look at the politics of it, it's quite left wing. Yeah. I did a gig back in November for the Love Music Hate Racism, who were part of the Hope Not Hate campaign against like anti-fascist they're an anti-fascist organisation, and it's always weird when you play, because I've noticed that I did a stand-up gig for them, and the audience are basically all going to be very left-wing, and and the one thing about left-wing audiences is they think before they laugh, which is the weirdest thing. Like right-wing, like people who are in the centre or more right, they don't think, they hear something funny, they laugh, whereas people on the left are like, are we allowed to laugh at that? We should. Can you just check? Should just check my book? It's just like, because I'm talking about racism, but I am using words. I am using words that I won't use now, but I am using, and not in an offensive way, just to sort of say, because that's what I'm quoting people, or I'm talking about the nature of racism in general. And like, it's funny that they doing this show tends to sort of like, I can do a joke that's quite dark, but like there are people on the left who I know who I have to explain to them, like I don't think that's funny. You know, it's just, for me, it's like there's so much horrific stuff in the world that the only way, if you can't laugh at it, there's nothing else you can really do. And so it's not saying that, oh, this is funny, that's funny, racism is funny, this is funny. It's just that I need to be able to find a way to make this funny in a certain context, because then it sort of can't beat you, I suppose, is the way.
That's true. Richard.
Yes.
I kind of so we've covered kind of the images in storytelling.
Yes.
How do you kind of flesh out your stories? What's your rhythm for storytelling?
It's weird. This is the first sort of show. Normally, most of my stuff is quite sort of commentary, or it's observational stuff. I very rarely talk about myself too much, not particularly in this. But in this show, I sort of like it's sort of a new thing for me. But I find with storytelling, it's just it's. I never really thought about it. It's just that I just find that if you are just once you learn that 80% of performing and how the audience receive you is visual, which is really like the way you look at them and the way your hands are, or which I'm waving my hands in the air, I'm forgetting I'm on radio.
It's very visual.
When you realise that your words are essentially meaningless, which I'm saying this on a radio show again, which is
undermining.
But I mean, when you realise that, it's like it just really comes down to sort of like, so it just. I mean, Dave Gorman's a good example. Even though Dave Gorman would never do the stuff I'm sort of doing.
Yeah.
When I watch Dave Gorman, he's so meticulous and detailed, and when he talks about, like he says, so I was over here and my friend was over there, and I went back over it, and it's everything's very graphic, and he's moving his arms around, lots of gestures. And so, so that's really all it comes. But I mean, storytelling's not something. There are a lot more visual gags in this one, because I do a lot of, because I'm used to. I've got a bit of a big internet following, because I'm on the old YouTube and under the Twitter and all that other stuff. And I sort of end up doing stuff like I've got a lot of screenshots of stuff, and that's really the first time I've ever used any prop, because there's this screenshots of things that I've seen, like things people have said on Twitter that I just. I'll give you an example. One of them was an example of Tommy Robinson. He was responding to something. It's the first time he's ever said anything actually slightly clever, and he completely messed it up. He was responding to some Muslim woman said, "Why is this pillock?" To put it politely, is Tommy Robinson, and he said, what he meant to say was, "I am Allah's messenger sent to correct the mistakes of the Prophet Muhammad." The problem was, and ironically, given this show, he put Alan instead of. And to me, it's just like I can't. I have to get a copy of that and blow it up to A3 and laminate it and just show it to people and go look at what this plum said.
Can I have a copy as well, please?
Yeah, it's somewhere. You'll find it somewhere on. If you just Google images, put Tommy Robinson Allen into if you put Tommy Robinson Twitter into Google Images, you'll just get this monstrous. One of my proudest moments ever on the internet last year was I accidentally caused a worldwide global hashtag trend. When Tommy Robinson, he posted the front page, homepage of Twitter, they changed it to these two guys in India playing cricket, and in the background there was a mosque. Yeah. And Tommy Robinson wrote, "Oh, there's a mosque on the front homepage of Twitter, hashtag creeping Sharia." Now, creeping Sharia is this paranoid conspiracy that every now and again there's these little bits of things that are to do with Islam creep into your everyday life. Yeah. And the more and more they creep in, the more. In fact, these two Indian guys playing cricket in front of the mosque didn't actually bother him. But he put creeping Sharia, so I sort of started replying saying, "Oh God, whenever I vomit in front of my toilet, I'm accidentally bowing east, creeping Sharia." Have you noticed LOL looks like a mosque with two minarets, creeping Sharia? And so I thought, I'll have a bit of fun with it. I was living in Scotland, I was travelling down to London, and I sort of made a YouTube video, because I've got like 20,000 people on YouTube, and I said, I said, go on Twitter and just mess around because I want something to entertain me. While I'm going, and it just went mental. And it's like people going, I have a beard, creeping Sharia. Have you noticed they don't put pork in cornflakes anymore, creeping Sharia? and then all this other stuff. And then all this, there was fantastic. And then someone sent me a link saying, "Look at this," and I was like, "Oh, it's #1 trending topic in the UK." And then they said, "It's just gone global," and I'm like, "This is in 2 hours. It's gone." And then Dara O'Brien tweeted something with creeping Sharia. Mitch Ben started doing it, and by the next day, there had been news stories about it on the Huffington Post, the New York Times, the Independent. All people, and because I lived in Scotland and I was working in a kitchen, they called me a Scottish chef and part-time comedian. One of them called me a Scotch chef, which I think that might have been the Telegraph that called me that. But that just ended up. I was just on the train and I got back and like everyone, because my girlfriend at the time was a journalist and she was writing and she wrote an article and it ended up in the local paper. And I'm in the New York Times on their website talking about this Twitter trend that just everyone started getting in on. But I forgot what was the question.
Richard.
Yes. Am I allowed to show my show title again, or is that the? Are we
okay. No.
Okay, I won't. Okay, so the EAQF4J show
catchy
will be that's on at the Sheephaven Bay on the 6th and the 7th. So it's Tuesday and Wednesday, just coming at 9 p.m. Tickets, all the tickets are £5. You can get them on the Camden Fringe website, or you can just turn up on the night. Why you should go? Well, for the title alone. If you've just tuned in and you don't know what it is, well then you have to come and find out. So that's really why. And like you guys here, I'm doing the free festival, and I have to, because of the rivalry that exists between the two factions, I have to separate there. I'm doing the Laughing Horse Free Festival in
PBH's Free Fringe is ours. Yes. PBH. I didn't say that, but I'm contractually obliged.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there, isn't there?
It's Tupac and Biggie all over again. Yeah, I'm doing the free festival, which is on the 14th to the 25th. I'm doing the same show, and that's also a free show that you can come on. But that's it. I'm not on until 10:15 at night because that's the earliest they can get me on to get the sort of audience I get in. People who are not vomit. So that would be if you want to cut. So basically, the more important one is the 6th and the 7th. That's Tuesday and Wednesday at the Sheephaven Bay. Is
CamdenFringe.com.
Yeah, and I do have a YouTube channel, Coughlan 616.
Coughlan 616.
Coughlan 616.
And that's the popular one, isn't
that's
it?
The popular one. There is a lesser one. There is a beta channel which is Coughlan 000. I did have Coughlan 666, but that got terminated because some. This is totally true. A 19-year-old gay lad from Portsmouth who made videos wearing a wig, who believed he was an alien version of Jesus, filed 51 copyright violations against my videos that he didn't own. And that is honestly a true story. I had 51 fake copyright notices lodged against me by an alien Jesus. Who was gay, wore a wig and came from Portsmouth.
Sarah,